Hi, JP here
James?
from Tone Tailors, and today we're going to continue our little tech tips and tricks type thing, um, and go over some, I don't know, basic upgrades to
Right.
guitars.
Right. These are things you can do if you have maybe a lesser expensive guitar like a Squire or a Mexican Fender or Epiphone style guitar that maybe didn't come with the best components, but you like the way the guitar plays and you want to make it a little bit better. Or if you have a really great guitar and you just want to tweak it a little bit to make it even nicer. So we're just going to do a quick rundown on a bunch of things you can do. We're not going to go into huge detail because there's a lot of them that we're going to kind of hit. But you're welcome to feel free to call us if you have any other in-depth questions on them, and these are all things that we can do for you here in the store if you so desire. So we're just going to start at the top of the guitar and work our way down.
So, first thing we have is tuners. Basic concept behind tuners, there's a gear in here, you turn this, it turns that, you tighten your string, but with any gear there's different ratios. So, most OEM or made for manufacturer tuners are fairly low quality. They're not the best gear ratios, and they do have slipping issues every once in a while. Whatever. Just know that there are a lot of other tuners nowadays that have been carefully calculated and designed that have much higher ratios. So as you're turning this string, it's turning the peg in minute increments so that you can get a much closer and more finite tuning. There's also locking tuners, which I'll show you here, which has made it easy for restringing. These are not the tuning pegs themselves, but these are just locks. So it's made it to a point where you literally just run your string through it, clamp it down, cut it off, and you have like 2 or 3 turns and you're up and running. They're very efficient, very easy to use. They also clamp down the string so it prevents slipping more often than not. So locking tuners, nice little upgrades you can get on there. And then for acoustic styles, there's a couple neat features out there nowadays.
So yeah, you can, sometimes you just want to do something that's a little more decorative too. So we have, like on this, Martin here has the open back sort of vintage style, they call them butterbean tuning heads. It just gives it a little more retro vibe. And sometimes you just want something that looks different. So,
Yeah, there's some like super ornate ones out there too, like abalone and ivory and all this other stuff. So, tuning pegs, easy upgrade, not very expensive, fairly easy to do yourself, or have a tech do, but it can play a very key role in staying in tune.
Moving down the guitar, the next thing you come to would be the nut, and this is something that can make a huge difference in the sound of your guitar. When we talk about acoustic guitars, a lot of times your lower end will come with a plastic nut, which is fine, but just sometimes doesn't have the same resonance as you'd get with a nicer one. So a big upgrade you can do with that is to change the nut to a bone nut, and also you can do that to the saddle as well on an acoustic guitar. That's going to add a lot more like resonance and just a little richness to the tone. So it's a really great upgrade to do on the acoustic guitar if it doesn't already have it. When it comes to electric guitars, there's also nuts that you can upgrade as well. If you have like a headstock that has like the 3 tuning pegs on each side, a lot of times you'll run into tuning issues where the D and the G strings break off to the sides when they come, and they have a tendency to get hung up in the nut. But if you get like one of the lubricated ones, like the Tusk, or there's some other brands out there, the strings will pass through a lot easier, and it'll alleviate a lot of those tuning issues. I've put Tusk nuts on a few of my guitars, and it always makes it a lot better in that respect. Also, you can get the roller nuts too, which are like the ones that have little ball bearings in them. Fender makes the LSR one, which is another low friction type surface for the string to pass through, so you get a lot less tuning issues. So that's what you can do with the nut. Moving down.
All right, let's get into frets. Um, so, a couple different materials for frets out there, lots of different sizes, basic concepts for them, and why you would want to consider, changing frets would be, um, your standard is going to be nickel. It's a soft metal. It wears down as you play and bend and all that kind of stuff. You're basically creating little grooves in it. You're also basically filing away at it with your strings. And with the new, a lot of the strings that are out there nowadays are making them tougher and stronger and basically more volatile to your frets. One of the counters to that is getting stainless steel frets. They are much stronger. They almost never need replaced. You don't get as many grooves in them, and if you do, you're probably playing a lot. But they are a little expensive. They do have a slightly different tone to them because they are stainless steel, so it's going to be a little brighter, a little sharper attack on there. And then from there, the next thing to consider for your frets would be fret shape. There's jumbo frets, there's flat, wide, narrow, all these different sizes and shapes to it, which will all play into how you play. So if you have jumbo frets, when you're chording, if you're heavy-handed, just your pressure will throw the guitar out of tune because you got the extra height on those frets now. You're pulling it harder, and you're going to get the in-between notes. You'll see like wide, fat ones where, when you're shredding and that kind of stuff, you're not really bending or anything like that. You're just looking for the articulated notes. A lot of the shredders will have, the wide, fat, not wide, fat.
Flat.
Flat is the word I'm looking for. So, fret research is something to really look into. If you want to stop in sometime, we do have a bunch of guitars here, so we can always pick up several, and I guarantee that you'll find different frets across different guitars. But it is another aspect to look at as a simple upgrade or modification to your guitar and how you can attack playing it.
Cool. So moving down, the next one is maybe the least expensive upgrade that you can do to your guitar, but it might be the one that saves you the most money in the long run, which is strap locks. I think we've all been there before where we just have a regular strap on our guitar and you're playing and all of a sudden the strap's not on the guitar anymore and the guitar's headed towards the floor, which is never a fun situation to be in. So this is, we've been calling it the cheapest insurance policy you can get for your guitars, and basically what it's various ways to keep the strap attached to your guitar so it doesn't fall off. So we have a couple options here. The first is probably the cheapest. It's these Fender strap blocks. They're like $4 or $5. They're basically little rubber washers that you take the strap pins out, put the washer or the strap, the washer and then the strap, and then put the strap pin back on, and now the strap can't come past the end of the strap pin, so it's never going to fall off. Downside to this is that the strap has to stay on the guitar all the time unless you want to keep unscrewing the pins. So it is a bit more of a permanent option, but it's also the cheapest option. But then if you want something that's removable, we have the Dunlop strap locks here. These are basically a little mechanism that you attach to the strap, and then you replace the pin with the pin that they give you here, which has basically a little clip that when you push the little button, you can stick it in, and then it clips into place, and while you're playing, strap's not going anywhere, but then you can unhook it right at the when you're done playing, and you can put the strap in your case or whatever. You don't have to leave it on all the time. These are really great. I have a guitar that has had a set of these on for about 17 years now, and they still haven't failed, so I stand by these pretty heftily. But yeah, really cheap option to keep your guitar safe. So
yeah, same here. I've had mine on my guitar for over 7 years now, so just a great option to add on there. All right, so next we're going to get into the components and the internal part of the guitar. So first up, we have what's called a treble bleed, tone bleed. I don't know, probably has some other names too. But basically, it's a capacitor and a resistor that goes on your volume knob. I don't know if you ever took time and played with your volume knob here and notice as you turn it down on a standard kind of guitar that's more budget friendly, you'll find that as you turn it down, the lows are more prominent because the highs are tapering off quicker than the lows. So it tends to get a little bit muddy, you know, you lose clarity and all that. So basically, you put one of these on here. It's like $10. Solder it in there, and now it controls, and it's basically a filter that's going on there. And as you roll off your volume, it's more congruent going down. So you have equal level of highs and lows. It's just a simple little add-on that really helps out and allows you to actually play with your volume tone a little bit, or volume knob a little bit more, and you can get into even more tonality options the more you play with the volume knob. So highly recommend adding this on to any standard kind of guitar. Open up your nice guitar too. They might not have it in there.
Right.
I don't know why a lot of companies don't put these in just standard.
Yeah. And while you're in there, another thing you can do, this is especially the case if you have an inexpensive guitar like a Squire, is to replace the pots that are in there. A lot of times the lower end guitars come with pretty cheaply made pots, tend to wear out a lot quicker, just don't sound as good, can be scratchier. So, you know, a pot like this is like $6-7 most of the times, but it's a much nicer pot than what you'll get in a lot of those cheaper guitars. So if you're in there, you know, swapping out some stuff, you might as well do this as well too, and just improve the overall sound. And then the other thing that you can do when you're doing the electronics, which we can kind of show you on this guitar, on your Telecaster style guitars, a lot of times the input jack, if you have like the sort of the canister style jack that comes standard on most Telecasters, which we don't have a Telecaster here at the moment, but a lot of times those are prone to loosening up, and it's a constant battle, and you can, if you're not careful when you retighten it, you can break the wires off the input jack. But we have what's known as an electro socket jack that you can get, that we can install for you, that it just goes in and it actually screws into place once it's in the cavity, and it's not going to go anywhere. So it's similar to this with the plate that's being held in place with the screws, but it actually will fit into your Telecaster socket there. So that's a great upgrade to do, and those are like $7 or $8 and only a few bucks for us to install. So.
Yeah, and even just, you know, double checking your solder joints on your electric guitars on the input jack itself. So, you know, most, like we keep going over here, is most lower end guitars or beginner guitars, they have to fit a certain price point, so there are corners that get cut along the way, and most of that goes into components and the nicer amenities that you can get for your guitar.
Oh.
And so that brings us to, where are we at? Saddles. Yeah, I guess we're going right down the line. Saddles. So this is a fixed bridge here. You got your two-pneumatic bridge. You have trim systems like on here. Actually, this one's fixed too, but you have your 6 saddles here. Tellies come with the big plate, and then there's like a 3-piece saddle on there. There are different materials for these. There's different configurations, different weights and masses, so it adds to how long the string can resonate in the contact to the guitar. Once again, there's also, like I said, the materials, so you can get like graphite saddles, which will be the lubricating, self-lubricating, same as you would, same concept as the nut. So there's a lot of different options when it comes to this too, but it gets very kind of specific on this, because you can't just like, oh, hey, I want to put a telly plate on this. It probably won't work that well. So this is something where we definitely want to talk to someone that has experience taking some of these out, putting in new ones, or just swapping the saddles themselves with a different material. Could be graphite, brass, steel, like that, all that kind of stuff. So, and they will all play into your tonality.
And then, if you were following along as we went up and down the guitar, you may have noticed we conspicuously skipped something, which is the pickups. The reason why is we're actually going to do a whole video on swapping out your pickups because of all of the different modifications that you can do to your guitar. This is by far the one that will make the biggest difference in the overall sound. So we're going to actually take the time, go over a lot of the options that you have, not just for electric guitars, but also adding pickups to an acoustic guitar that maybe doesn't have one. And we really just want to devote a whole video to that specific subject, but we did want to mention it in this video so that you know that, hey, this is an upgrade that you can do to your guitar, and if you're curious already about information, feel free to stop in or call us, or, you know, check out the website, and, you know, we can answer questions on the pickups for you. But again, we are just going to make a whole video for that subject.
Stay tuned for that one.
Yep. So yeah, so I hope that gives you some ideas on things that maybe you didn't think about that you could do to your guitar to take it to the next level. So again, if you're interested in doing any of these upgrades, drop us a line, stop in the store, you know, address 201 Rock Lidditz Boulevard, Lidditz, Pennsylvania, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thanks.